man. What a game that is. What a game that is. What a result for us as well. I mean, we needed, 4 points from our last 3 games, and we've gone and walked away with 6 points. Absolutely incredible. So, randomly, we just decide, you know what, in these last few games, these last crucial games to get automatic promotion, we're just going to go in, give half-assed effort, pull out a few draws, maybe a few losses, and then in the last 3 games, make it as tight as possible to get auto promotion, and then start winning again. Man, it's the Boro way. I'm telling you, it's just is the Boro way. But gotta give credit here to Boro today. We went in, especially in the first 20-25 minutes, looking a little lackluster in terms of form. Morgan Whittaker, I mean, we'll get on to Morgan Whittaker more later in the pod, but early doors, Morgan Whittaker, free kick, absolute stunner. Nobody saw that coming, not even Morgan Whittaker. And yeah, he just delivers our first free kick of the season that we've actually been able to convert, which is pretty insane. We're in the second to last game of the season, and this is the first free kick we've scored all season. That's crazy, absolutely crazy. But absolute credit to Morgan Whittaker today. He was absolutely on fire. He was showing Boro how it was done, and yeah, just absolutely amazing performance from him. But as an overall, going back to what I was saying before, we just looked very sloppy. Especially in that first half. I don't know what was happening at the Riverside. I don't know what we've put on the grass this game, but everybody was falling over. I must have seen Aidan Morris fall over at least 10-15 times just in the first half. Dude was falling over left, right, centre. Looked like Gerrard. Oh, so I don't know what was going on, but it wasn't just us. Watford players were falling over too. So I don't know what the grounds people have been doing over at Riverside, but yeah, something was dodgy about that grass. But yeah, overall football, I think our fluidity kind of dropped off. A lot of misplaced passes. A lot of the time we were just giving it back to them. We were trying to play it long, and we just ended up giving the ball back to them. A lot of shots. We were taking on shots like we usually do. Mainly from outside the box, which isn't like Boro. Usually we shoot inside the box, and that's why we don't score very often, because they always get blocked. But we seem to take more outside the box chances, which was nice to see. But yeah, I just felt the first half we kind of struggled. Of course, it was 2-0 at half time. If you didn't see the game, it was 2-0 at half time, with, of course, that early free kick from Morgan Whittaker. Highly recommend you go watch the highlights just to see that free kick alone. It was absolute beauty of a free kick. The way it was curling in as well. Yeah, keeper had no chance of reaching that. And then we had a second goal come from David Strelic. There was a bit of a thing going on. Ball gets crossed into the box. Strelic slides in with the Watford defender behind him, and then is it an own goal? Did Strelic score? I think Strelic got the goal. I think he headed it in. But yeah, Strelic gets credit for the goal anyway, giving us a 2-0 lead. And then second half kicks off. Boro do the Boro thing within 2-3 minutes. Watford go and get a goal back. Just sloppy at the back, just sloppy defending, and Watford get one back. And I just thought, oh, this is it, isn't it? This is Boro doing a Boro, and it's going to be one of them instances where we're 2-1 up, and this game's going to end 2-2, 3-2 to Watford. But luckily that wasn't the case. We found our form again heading into the final half hour of the game with another goal from Morgan Whittaker. Morgan Whittaker just, bloody hell, man. He came in from injury. and just said, we need goals. Let me show you how it's done. And he came on and he just did that. Absolutely phenomenal from Morgan Whittaker today. I'll hold up my hands and say I have definitely been one of the people that have been on the negative side of Morgan Whittaker, saying that we didn't need him anymore, we should transfer list him, this isn't the Whittaker we signed for Plymouth. I will hold my hand up and say he played well today, but this is what we need to realise, that just because a player has a bad game or a bad day or whatever does not mean they're worth selling. A lot of people are saying sell Tommy Conway. Tommy Conway's not worth keeping. Tommy Conway's not the best striker we've got. We've got Strelic, we've got Sene. We should just play one of them. But I think, and what I'm starting to see a lot more often, is Hellberg is almost converting Tommy into a winger. To kind of maybe be the winger rather than sign on Sarmiento. Hansen played really well today. But he's not Premier League quality anyway. But I think we could go up into the Premier League with Tommy Conway playing as a left winger. I'd be confident in Tommy starting near enough every game on that left hand side, because I think he has adapted more to a winger role than a striker. So I think if you judge Tommy Conway the same way you judge Strelic, why aren't you judging Luke Ayling the same way you're judging Zolbryn? Just because they both play at the back, it's two completely different positions. So I think if you want to compare strikers, you need to start comparing Strelic to Sene, and then if you want to start comparing wingers, you can compare Morgan Whittaker to Tommy Conway. And of course, Whittaker obviously is the better player. Just look at his contributions. But Tommy came on. We got penalty from a pretty blatant handball from Watford. I know the defender who caused the handball was saying, how's that a penalty? But watching the replay back, it clearly puts his hand up and batters it away. So there's no complaining. It was a blatant handball. Pardon me. So it is what it is. You can't really argue something that's plain and obvious. Then Tommy Conway getting a goal in the 92nd to give us the fifth. 5-1, man. 5-1 at home. Our home form has been shocking. And yet we've had 6 points from our last two home games. From our last two games. We've got an away day against Wrexham still to come. But we usually don't do well at early kickoff. I mean, for an early kickoff, 12:30 kickoff at home, to walk away with a result like this, a very dominant win over Watford, it's pretty incredible. So if we have a look at the stats, 20 shots to their 12, 2.2 expected goals when you walk away with 5, pretty incredible. 4 big chances to their 1. Bangura came off at half time, not really sure what happened, but he doesn't seem to be able to play at full 90, which is a bit worrying. So we brought on Tiggs just after half time. Then we conceded 2 minutes later. Not really his fault, but it is what it is. Whittaker bagged. Dale Fry came on for Malanda. I thought that was a weird one, to see Malanda go off, but maybe, he's trying to keep some of our crucial players to the Wrexham game, try and keep as many of them as fit as possible. Kind of why the likes of Alan Brown didn't start. Maybe he's just keeping them, keeping those crucial players fit for Watford. Which is probably why Morgan Whittaker came off as well. But I was a little bit surprised to see Malanda go off. I would have expected maybe Luke Ayling to have made way, or even somebody like Callum Britton and shifted Ayling to right back. But no, Malanda was the one to make way. Leo came on. It was really nice to see Leo play. Obviously he came back from injury. He came on for Hansen. Hansen played a really good game. I think he did really well. We've seen Hansen come in bursts of form. He's been really solid. He made some good runs. Definitely showing his pace. But I feel like when Leo came on, we just played a lot more comfortably. Playing a lot more passes around, and he had some really good opportunities as well. Some really successful dribbles, especially pushing it towards the 18-yard box. Then Tommy Conway's pen came, and then we took off Sarmiento in the 83rd for Sammy Torreira. I'm just going to say this now. I think Sarmiento is so unneeded in the team. He fell over a lot. He was doing step overs like it was nobody's business. Like, honestly, I think he's done more step overs in this game than I've ever seen Neymar in his entire career. It's just absolutely every time he was one-on-one with somebody, it's like he was doing a step over. It was just absolutely mental. And I'm just not a fan of the kind of player that just does skills. It's like a bit when Anthony just did that random spin in like when he wasn't even being pressed and he lost the ball. It's like, why bother? You're just doing it to showboat. And when we're trying to like push for promotion and we're trying to get these vital points, why you doing all these fancy tricks and stuff that are just losing us the ball. But so I was a bit disappointed with Sarmiento's performance overall, but he did what he could anyway. Aidan Morris get a book in. I'm not quite sure what happened. Loser seems to come over and say something to Leo, and then Aidan overhears it, then something's going on, and I don't know. Something was going on between those two. But Aidan Morris received a booking as well as Loser, so something had to be said. I know that Castledine walked away, Aidan Morris walked away, and Loser was still mouthing off to the referee, so don't know. Watford seems to be kind of weird in this game. They seem to be very eager to get yellows and fouls and whatever. Like, they were flying in with tackles. It was unreal. Like, the amount of free kicks we won, crazy, absolutely crazy. And then, of course, to finish off the game, we've got Tommy Conway with the assist from David Strelic. Received the ball in the middle, saw Tommy Conway making a run, beautiful pass down the wing. Tommy cuts in and slots it bottom left corner to give us our fifth in the 92nd minute. But here we go. Having a look at the starting 11, we went for a 4-2-3-1. On Sky Sports, it popped up as a 4-2-2-2. But at the end of the day, Sky Sports are always wrong about Boro. They always give us shit for stuff that we can't control. It's like Boro will lose the ball, and then they'll go, oh, typical Boro, losing the ball in this ball. Oh, just shut it up, man. Honestly, I couldn't give a rat's ass what Sky Sports had to say about our club. They're always wrong, and they're always just trying to beef up the other team. It's just whoever we play. It's just how many comments can we shoot towards Boro before somebody actually calls us out on it. But starting with Sol in goal, I thought Sol had an okay game. He made a few mistakes. It is what it is. He made a really good save actually, getting his fingertips to the ball to keep the ball out. Managed to chink it against the post, which was nice. Britton and Ayling played well. I'm shocked at Malanda's rating. Malanda did not look like he played a 6.8. I would have at least given a 7.1, maybe 7.2. I think he played really well. But I suppose, he only played 63 minutes. Bangura played okay. Lost the ball a few times, but his pace is there. So maybe bringing Tiggs on was kind of the right call, just for a little bit of stability. Morris, for me, if Whittaker and Conway hadn't got those goals, he would have been my man of the match. I mean, he was just everywhere. He plays that deep line playmaker role so well. He just drops in. Sometimes you can see him, cutting back as far as being within that back four, almost creating a back five. You've got him drifting to the wings. You've got him in the centre. Sometimes he's bombing forward. He's just everywhere. He's just everywhere in that midfield. He really is like a playmaking maestro in that midfield, just kind of building up. I'd be shocked if he doesn't make his US nationals. He's exactly what they need in their midfield. I think Gilbert played okay. I don't have anything properly to say about Alex. Watched him play. I thought he played okay. Like I was saying, didn't strike me as anything, like anything too special. He didn't stand out. He was just another player on the pitch. Would have definitely preferred Alan Brown there. I'd just say Alan Brown offers a little bit more. He's a bit more attacking, a little bit more defending. He's more experienced. He's got the stability in there. So he can hold his own position. And I think Morris and Alan Brown work really well together. Whittaker played an absolute blinder. 9.3 rating, 2 goals, 1 assist. I mean, just absolutely amazing from Morgan Whittaker. Couldn't be happier with how Morgs played today. And he could have had a hat-trick if that shot he had was just a little bit lower, like 1 or 2 inches lower, and he would have scored a hat-trick. But unfortunately, clanked off the bar. Devastated for him. Absolutely devastated for him. All he needed was 1 more, but he got subbed off for Tommy Conway, who of course came on and scored 2 of his own. Sarmiento, I've already made my comments clear about Sarmiento. I thought he played really poor. Lost the ball. He did okay. Okay, poor. Or, he was definitely one of our weaker players. I definitely think he should have been brought off sooner rather than later. A little bit shocked with Hansen. I think Hansen played okay, with his dribbles and with his pace and stuff, but he did lose the ball a little bit. And then David Sturridge. Does he deserve the 8.2? Not in my opinion. I would have given him probably about 7.5. He played okay. He got a goal, yes, but it was kind of a scruffy one. But he did get the assist to Tommy Conway, which probably brought his rating up a little bit more. But at least he's playing in the middle. But definitely would have liked to see somebody like Cruz play. Watford, of course, is a good team. Sometimes they're really good, sometimes they're not. But I would have still liked to have seen maybe Cruz play, even if it was just for the final 10, the final half hour. But Cruz wasn't on the bench, so wasn't an option. But as you can see, Tiggs, Fry, Conway, Castledine and Silvera all coming on to make their impact. Tommy Conway, more than anybody, came on, scored 2 goals, including 1 penalty. But Tommy Conway, just doing Tommy Conway things, absolutely amazing. Couldn't be happier with Boro. Boro played a really good game. Of course, there's going to be some things to say which are a bit negative, but at the end of the day, we walked away with a 5-1. It should have been 5-0. We should have sorted stuff out at the back early doors to have stopped the goal we of course did concede, but I can't complain. 5-1, 3 very crucial points, 6 very crucial points heading into our final game against Wrexham, I believe on the 2nd of May. Definitely one I'm going to watch. I'd love to watch it on live. I'd love to watch it on a live stream. But copyright and everything like that just won't let me. I might see if I can do a watch along. I might see if I can do it. If I can get my webcam in on time, I might see if I can do it. But yeah, hopefully. Sorry. Ooh. Tired still. I've still got to record career mode. But yeah, hopefully we go to Wrexham, we go to the racecourse, and we do exactly the same like we did against Watford, and we just walk away with like a 5-6-0 win, and just, finish the league off in style. But yeah, that's really all we've got to say about this. I am going to say that Loser played really well. I think he played really, really well. Definitely one of the better players. You can see there, Kayembe and Loser really the only standouts for Watford. I think Bove, this guy here, diving a lot. He went down way too easily so many times. It's absolutely ridiculous. And if Watford fans disagree, then just watch the game back. All I'm saying is, there was that instance where you got a free kick and we didn't even touch him. He just jumped on the floor, started rolling around. So he clearly been learning some things over there at Watford. Just how to go down on soft tackles or non-existent tackles and just make them look horrendous. I'm not sure to pronounce his name. Kiramgard. Very unlucky not to get a goal. Definitely could have got one. He was through on goal. I think he's the one that clanked the post. So a bit unlucky for him, but he did look decent. I will say he did look decent. But yeah, Boro, sign this man. Sign this man, Iram Loser. We did it on career mode. He played really well. I know he had a bust up with Aidan Morris and Leo, but hopefully they can sort that out because I think he'd be a great addition to Boro's midfield. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else really to say. For once, I'm super happy with how the Boro performance went. All I am going to say is that with these pods, I'm going to do them post-match rather than pre-match. So all the pods will be after a result rather than before, because I just think it's better to get my match reaction after than before we've actually done anything. But I don't believe we actually did a pod against Sheffield Wed. So let's just pull up Sheffield Wednesday. And I don't know if we did a pod because I don't remember talking about Whittaker here. But Whittaker obviously getting us the goal. Yet again, early doors. Another early doors goal from Morgan Whittaker. But very much the same story. 18 shots. This is the problem I'm having with Boro at the moment, is we're getting shots away, we're getting shots on target, we're just not converting them. How can you walk away with 18 shots, only a 1-0 that happened in the 11th minute? It was 3 crucial points, it was 3 points we desperately needed, especially in this promotion push. Ipswich dropping points, which was awesome for us. Millwall dropping points, which is awesome for us. All we need now is basically the same thing. We need losses or draws from Ipswich, Millwall and Southampton. Realistically. And it is close. Let's just have a look at the table before we end off the pod. So as we look at the table, Coventry will play Wrexham in their next game. I believe that's tomorrow. Ipswich will play Southampton, which is big. 2 of the promotion pushing teams are going to face each other. Millwall will face Oxford. Millwall should win that, which is going to be a shame, because I believe that will put them in second, depending on what happens with Ipswich and Southampton. We, of course, will play Wrexham after Coventry, so Coventry play Wrexham tomorrow. We'll play Wrexham next week, I believe. I think we play them on a Monday. Sorry, I'm just having a look. I'm just checking. We've got Southampton against Ipswich, Wrexham against Coventry. Hull are going to play Norwich. That could be quite an interesting game, because Norwich have had a bit of form recently. Saturday the 2nd of May. So we play them in exactly a week. A week today, we play against Wrexham. Let's just hope Coventry absolutely batter them, and then it just destroys their morale and allows us to get some nice points to finish off the season. I think we're confirmed. I think playoffs is confirmed. I don't think there's any way we can lose out on playoffs. See, Wrexham are in 6th with 70 points, and they've got 2 games left. Yeah, so playoffs is confirmed. Boro are in the playoffs. It's just whether or not now we can get that second place spot for autos. But in my perspective, and I said this over on the career mode the other day, yesterday, of what I think or what I would like. And to be honest, as much as I want automatic promotion, I just don't see it happening. If we'd beaten Portsmouth and if we'd beaten Ipswich, I think we could have been on for automatic promotion. But I think it's too tight. We just need a lot of results to fall our way. And, anything could happen. It could still happen. But it looks like we're going to go through on playoffs. Luckily, Coventry aren't in the playoffs because we'd just be over if they were. But between who's going to go up with Hull or Wrexham, it could even still be Derby. Derby could knock them both out. But I reckon Hull will go up into the promotion places. And then I'm hoping it'll be us against Hull, and then Millwall against Southampton. And Southampton will knock out Millwall, will knock out Hull, and then it'll be Southampton against Boro in the playoff final. I think that would be an epic final. Millwall, Boro, I don't really care about. Hull, Boro, no. Wrexham, Boro, no. I think Southampton, Boro makes a really good final, even if we lose. Even if we lose the final. QPR have just gone up there. Just seen the table change there. QPR have just shot up to 12. But yeah, I think if Southampton and Boro get in the final, even if we lose, I think that would be a really good final. But yeah, that's my prediction. Boro, Southampton in the playoff final. If we don't go up by auto promotion, that's at least the game I'd like to see. But if you have enjoyed, sorry that this pod has been a little bit shorter than the others. As I said, they will all be post-game. They will be after the results, so we can talk about things. But up the Boro, massive 3 points today. 5-1 against Watford. What a game. Credit to Tommy Conway and to Morgan Whittaker for both of their double goals today. Up the Boro, and I'll see you in the next one.